They always tell you to reach for the stars, but maybe we should be a little more specific about which ones. Because space, as beautiful as it is also incredibly hostile. Today, we're going to look at exactly how each planet in our solar system would end your trip. Very, very quickly. And I mean, have you really thought about it? Not the cool sci-fi movie version, but the cold, hard, scientific reality. What would you actually feel? What would be the very last thing you experience? It's a pretty dark thought, I know, but it's also kind of fascinating.
So get ready. We're about to go on the ultimate grand tour, a one-way trip, of course, to see the most creative and, frankly, terrifying ways the solar system has cooked up to kill you.
Okay, let's get into it. We're going to start with the planets closest to us. They might be our neighbors, but trust me, they are not friendly. First stop is Earth's supposed sister planet, Venus. Yeah, don't let that fool you. There is nothing sisterly about this place. Landing here would be an absolute nightmare of pressure and heat.
So on Venus, you've got a whole buffet of ways to die. The atmospheric pressure is 92 times what we have on Earth. To put that in perspective, that's like being almost a full kilometer deep in the ocean. The temperature is hot enough to melt lead, the air is basically poison, and oh yeah, it rains sulfuric acid. Fun!
Your end here would be ridiculously fast. The instant you arrive, that insane pressure would start crushing your suit like a soda can. 1 second in, it's breached. 2 seconds later, your body just collapses. By the 5-second mark, you're gone. It's brutal, it's efficient, and it is horrifying. All right, next up, Mercury, the planet of extremes. The interesting thing here is you actually get a choice in how you die. See, Mercury has pretty much no atmosphere to speak of, which means no temperature control. So you've got two very different options. On the side facing the sun, you'd get cooked at over 400 degrees Celsius while being blasted with radiation. You'd be gone in under an hour. Or you could try the night side, where you'd be plunged into a deep freeze of minus 180 degrees. You'd freeze solid in about the same amount of time. So pick your poison. Burn or freeze.
Okay, let's go to the one planet everyone seems to think we can actually live on, Mars. It looks a lot more friendly, right? Well, the red planet is more like a giant red flag. It's got a particularly gruesome fate waiting for you if anything goes wrong.
And it all comes down to this one word: ebulism. The atmosphere on Mars is super, super thin, less than 1% of Earth's. If you were suddenly exposed to it, the low pressure would cause the nitrogen in your blood and other fluids to literally boil. And this just lays it all out. In the first few seconds after your suit rips, you'd be confused, trying to breathe air that just isn't there. Then, ebulism kicks in. Your body would swell up as your own fluids boil from the inside out. In about 7 minutes, it's all over. Mars gives you just enough time to realize how horribly you're dying. So here's our first coroner's report. Venus is, hands down, the worst place to be. A solid 1 out of 10 for survivability. Mercury gives you about an hour, so we'll give it a 2 or a 3. And Mars, with its uniquely awful death by boiling blood, actually gets a 6 out of 10. Maybe just for the sheer sci-fi horror of it all. Okay, we're leaving the rocky planets behind. Now we're heading out to the realm of the giants. And out here, you can forget about landing. Just entering the atmosphere is basically a death sentence. First up, the king, Jupiter. You don't land on Jupiter, you just fall. Forever. As you're plummeting, you're getting thrown around by winds over 300 kilometers an hour. But the real killer isn't even the fall. It's the massive storms that create lightning bolts so powerful they could vaporize you and your ship in a single flash. And what about Saturn? Well, before you can even get close to the planet, you have to deal with its famous rings. Look at that number. That's the speed of the ice and rock zooming around in those rings, 70,000 kilometers per hour. What that means is your approach to Saturn isn't really a flight. It's more like running through a minefield of hypervelocity bullets. One tiny collision with even a small piece of ice at that speed, and your ship and you are just shredded, gone in milliseconds. All right, we're reaching the far edge of our tour, home to the ice giants, Uranus and Neptune. It's cold, it's dark, and it is unbelievably violent out here. And if you thought the winds on Jupiter were bad, just look at this. Saturn's winds are hitting 1,800 kilometers an hour. But Neptune is the undisputed champion. We're talking supersonic winds screaming at over 2,000 kilometers an hour. These aren't just storms, they are forces of pure disintegration.
But before we get to Neptune, let's talk about Uranus. Sure, you'd suffocate on its methane atmosphere, but it offers a, let's say, unique way to go. If you could somehow survive plunging deep into the planet, the insane pressure and heat would actually crystallize the carbon atoms in your body. In the words of our source, you'd have an epic, sparkling death, literally being turned into a human-sized diamond. And then there's Neptune. If you got caught in one of its supersonic vortices, it would be like being thrown into a cosmic blender. The G-forces would be massive, crushing your organs and stopping blood from getting to your brain. You'd pass out, and within about 5 minutes, the sheer force of the wind would just tear you and your entire ship apart. Time for our second coroner's report. The results are pretty interesting. Saturn's instant shredding by its rings gets a solid 8 out of 10. Neptune's violent blender death gets a low 2. But Uranus? Apparently, becoming a diamond is the absolute best way to die in the solar system, earning a perfect 10 out of 10. Who knew?
We've got one last stop on this deadly tour. It might not be a planet anymore, but that doesn't make it any less lethal. Welcome to the frozen, faraway world of Pluto.
On Pluto, the threat is simple and absolute: the cold. We're talking minus 239 degrees Celsius. Any problem with your suit's heater would be catastrophic. Within 30 seconds, you'd have frostbite. After a minute, your fluids start turning to ice. In 3 minutes, you would just be a frozen statue on the very edge of our solar system. A quick, quiet, and profoundly cold way to go. So there you have it. From being crushed flat and having your blood boil, to becoming a diamond, or being shredded by supersonic winds. Every single planet has its own special way of reminding us that no matter how amazing the cosmos is, Earth is really the only home we've got. The question is, what other dangers are hiding out there in the galaxy beyond?